Have you always been like that?
Yeah, I've always been that weird one.
Even young?
Yeah, real young.
Were people calling you the weird one?
Yeah, I just awkward, like, unorthodox, and asking the questions that, go on now, don't ask those bloody questions,
A tā moko artist and a man who is synonymous with Māori art. Toi Māori. Perhaps that's the reason why he has the name Gordon Toi. Born and bred in Auckland, but proudly calls Hokianga home, with a descent line that is traced from a well-known tupuna Māori artist, whose work is housed in the Auckland Museum. Now living near the top of the South Island, Gordon Toi's work continues to create attention and has much focus given to it. All this from a man who was lucky to make his way to the Arts Institute at Whakaaro in the early 1980s. But for the intervention of one man, Gordon admits he could have become a gang leader in Auckland. This is the story of Gordon Toi on Indigenous 100. Gordon Toi, tēnā koe.
Tēnā koe, te whanaunga.
No mai. Very good to have you on Indigenous 100. Thank you.
Yeah, honour to be here, brother.
It's an honour for us to have you.
Yeah.
I mean that because I know a lot of people that you've been an inspiration to. And I want to get into your mahi and also the people that have inspired you in your mahi. And in particular, in your moko, tā moko, whakaaro journey. But I'm interested in a couple of things. You're living in the South Island.
Yeah.
What's a Hokianga boy doing living in the South Island?
Oh, that's a bloody good question, but that's life, you never know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
And, I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to be able to travel around the world quite a bit through the mahi. And not quite really visiting our own backyard. So going to the South Island was an opportunity that, wanted to explore that, the waka, been living on the fish all my life. And so, going down to Waiponama was really about discovery and about recovery for me and developing ngā mahi moko, in particular puhoro. So it's lived up to all those expectations that,
See, I hear you say develop your mahi moko.
Yeah.
How much more development can you do? I mean, for us, you're a tohunga in that field.
Yeah.
So how much more development can a tohunga do when you're already at that tohunga status? You know what I mean?
Yeah, man, that's a hefty handle, that kupu. For me, I still consider myself to be a tauira.
Really?
And I think when you look at the kaupapa of moko in its entirety, we're only about 35 years young in terms of the modern renaissance. So whatever we're doing now is really just stepping stones to a greater awareness of what the process means to us as a Māori people, different tribal styles, there's so much more to learn, Every time we do a puhoro, you just learn that much more, It's like going out into sea, and then, every time you go out, you start learning more and more about the environment that mahi entails.
So, but you said to me that it was about development and also recovery. Recovery from what, Gordon?
Oh, well, I was lucky enough to be in a motorbike accident a few years ago, and I ended up losing my leg. And, you could sort of like moan about it and whinge about it, but that's kind of not how we're bred, And for me, I just, I don't have any regrets about what happened or to the person that, went into me, but you got to try and find the positive, and you just got to keep moving forward with it. And I think, you know, the lesson that I learned out of it was just an observation of living with pain, and then how that transferred to somebody receiving moko, which is a very painful process. So it's just kind of, you know, it's like really minute things that are helping me develop a clearer path to help guide our people through their rites of passage. Yeah.
Wow, interesting you say rites of passage. I know a fella, you know a fella, it's a guy called Turumakina Dui,
Aye.
who's doing his kaupapa
Yeah.
on rites of passage and reinvigorating that, you know. Like when we have 21st,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you have a yardie and all these
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of weird tikanga
Yeah.
that we do, as opposed to going through a Māori rite of passage.
Yeah.
Right? This kind of thing. But do you see it that way, that the accident is part of a journey to take you to, I don't know, another course, another place?
I honestly think it is. You know, I mean, you can only look at it from that perspective. You don't have a choice, because the other way of looking at it is that it will more than likely drive you insane. You know, because it's a head trip, and that's kind of what happens when you're undergoing a 5 to 6 day process, receiving your puhoro. It's a head trip. And you've got to be able to control yourself from slipping off the waka, so to speak, metaphorically speaking. And so, and understanding that from a very intimate perspective, I can offer some clarity and some guidance to those who are on the table.
Wow. It's interesting because you talk about it very much in the same way that Tāwera Nico talked about it after he had his, again, accident.
Yeah.
He talks about it very much the same way, and he said the same thing is that if you don't look at it the way in which you've looked at it, you do go, your head spins out.
Tino porangi. Yeah. I've been there too. So, you know, I understand what it's like to slip off and go into dark spaces and feel uncomfortable, feel like, you know, you're not meant to be here, all those sort of things. And Tāwera is actually a big part of my decision to take the leg off, actually. You know, he visited me in hospital, and we were going through some really, you know, not good stages on, you know, in the hospital, and you know, he just reaffirmed for me that taking the leg off was the best choice.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Do you think that if it wasn't for the life journey that you'd undertaken, and in particular your focus on, for want of a better way of putting it, our traditional art forms, that you might not have come out of it? Because you need to have that thought process as someone, and I'm not just throwing the word, you know, I use the word tohunga, and I apologise if you're not comfortable with that, if that's not the way you see yourself, but the way that we see you as a tohunga, that without that deep philosophical kind of understanding of your work, that but for that you might not have got through it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they must have kept me around for some reason, you know, and you know, so I find myself in this position, so it makes me want to dig a little deeper, a little, you know, go further into the process of shedding somebody's blood and putting these markings into their skin, going back into, you know, particularly Ngāpuhi designed puhoro, designs, patterns, everything like that, you know, like, I'm 60 now, so, you know, I want to spend the last bit of my time here really digging into the ngāpuhitanga of moko.
So let's talk about that and where that comes from, right? Because you were brought up, my understanding is you were brought up in Auckland, actually, as a young fella. But you are Ngāpuhi. Talk to me about your whānau. Because Toi whānau's got an interesting history, eh?
Yeah, they have, mate. Yeah, I'm very proud of our whānau, you know, the Toi whānau. And my grandfather was from Waimamaku, and he was the Toi, obviously, and then my grandmother was a leaf from Whirinaki. So we have those links, you know, from the edge of the forest all the way out to Whirinaki, to Hikatu. So although I never grew up there, I was the only grandchild of my grandparents who was whāngai, into whānau, into the mātenga whānau. So
the Marstons.
The Marstons, yes, and who also I'm very proud of too, you know. Yeah, my grandparents made sure to keep my links strong to the hokianga, And yeah, I'm forever grateful for that in terms of like my connection to that place, because that's kind of where I draw a lot of my inspiration from, even being so far away. Even when I used to travel overseas, Hokianga is always in the back of my mind. And that's kind of where everything that I do is structured around that place, those people, our whānau up there, yeah.
Where does the Hatfield name come from?
Oh, so...
Because that's how I know people used to talk to you. Some still call you Gordon Hatfield.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that's my Pākehā side. So my dad who brought me up, he was the Hatfield. So H-A-T, not H-A-D.
H-A-T, yeah.
But everyone thought H-A-D because those are the Harawetas as well, which I'm also very proud of that part too. You know, we're all connected. But these Hatfields, they grew up in Onehunga, next to the Bells, you know, very famous league whānau over there. So, and they used to battle it out for the top of the street over there in Te Rapa. And my dad who brought me up, he was the Hatfield. I take his first name too, Gordon, and a real traditional Māori name, but there you have it, that's life. Yeah. I had no say in the matter. I was only that big, yeah.
Do you reckon, so you said Waimamaku and then all the way through to Whirinaki, as you said with Te Ugutu, your leaf whānau. And of course, around there, as we know, there were a lot of taonga that came from that area, through Waimamaku, originally from the tohunga. Kohuru, te whata, some say kohatu.
Yeah.
Is that where this comes from?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he was prolific as the Taiapa brothers, Pone and Pene, on the coast. So was Kohuru in the north. And, you know, he was born in Waimamaku, as I understand it. There's a lot of different kōrero around Kohuru. But his particular style is the style that I'm working on at the moment in terms of developing it through whakaaro, rākau, kohatu and kiri. So, you know, I'm really trying to incorporate those styles, bring that South Hokianga style to the forefront. Because we lost a lot, obviously, through colonisation and religion and all those things that have hounded our people over the years. The wars took a lot of our kaumātua away. And a lot of those fellas didn't come back. So we lost a lot of that mātauranga. But there are kind of like, you know, remnants here and there. You know, some of them are in the carvings of Kohuru. Some of them in the kōrero that our kaumātua and queer still have. Some of them are in waiata, some of them are in oriori, some of them are in whakapapa. So, you know, it's like a huge puzzle that we've got to find some way to put, you know, the pieces back into the relevant spaces.
Is that how you see your life's mission?
Yeah.
Is helping put those pieces back into
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just trying to be proactive in you know, the renaissance of northern style of toi Māori.
And of course, so for us, Kohuru, you've got the sisters, Mahuri and Kuiawai, the Waimā ones, as you know, we say we're first. But let's not get into that.
Yeah.
For the sake of debates that we don't need.
What did you say then?
Let's just forget about that. But you know, there's those waka tūpāpaku of Kohuru. Have you seen them?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, his terminology, I mean, this is how tawhito that whole kōrero is around Kohuru's time. So he actually referred to them as tiki. And so, you know, again, if you look at Polynesia as a whole, when you travel around the islands and all the different motus, and you'll see freestanding figures, they're called tiki. It doesn't matter which, you know, their general name is called tiki. So it's a freestanding figure. And those wakatu papaku, they actually stood up in the ana. They weren't laid down. And so he referred to them as tiki. So, you know, all those kind of like little gems, you know, are so important to actually like piecing back that puzzle.
You have to have an understanding, Gordon, of wairua to be able to deal with that kind of mahi. Have you always been like that?
Yeah, I've always been that weird one.
Even young?
Yeah, real young.
Were people calling you the weird one?
Yeah, just awkward, you know, like, I mean, unorthodox, you know, and asking the questions that, go on now, you know, don't ask those bloody questions, you know.
Really?
Yeah, that's me, you know, messing around in bloody urupa and, you know, sitting on gravestones, you know, all those sorts of things, walking over graves, you know. I did all that kind of stuff that kids do, I suppose. But I you know, will go up the back there, have a look for the ana, you know, where these wakatu papaku were. Fully being told by my grandma, don't go up there, tutu around up there, boy. You know, but well, you know, I'd disappear up there for days sometimes and just go exploring really. And yeah, you know, and I had a few really cool uncles too, you know, and aunties, you know, Māori Marston was one of them, you know, he'd be awesome to talk to about all this wairua stuff. And then, you know, Matt Taylor was another one, you know, Piri Raya, you know, when I was quite young, Goff Rawiri, Johnny Clarisage, you know, all these names, you know.
Geez, you're talking about all the hautupu of Hokianga there, brother.
Pono marika, you know, he tino taniwha, those fellas, and each one of those ones, you know, they were brilliant at being able to answer the questions that nobody else wanted to answer, you know. And, you know, my Uncle Willie Toi, you know, the oldest of my grandparents, Uncle Fraser, you know, man, he's a wealth of knowledge. You know, so, I mean, we just had copious amounts of people up there that enabled, you know, to find out and explore a little bit more about that world, that ancient world of our people.
It must be, I mean, this is my understanding about some of those Piri Raya Māori, or legends.
Yeah, pono.
Even Uncle Goff and them. They didn't give those kōrero away easy.
No.
You had to be a...
Well, you had to be a little bit weird.
No, that's not what I mean.
You know, you had to
I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that.
Often they share those sort of things when you're just kanohi ki te kanohi, no one else around. And you have these little, you know, there might be sort of, we might be down the river fishing, you know, for tuna or something, or, you know, when you just get them on their own, and then you start having those conversations, which are moments I always loved, you know, like when they start imparting stuff, you know. Sometimes I didn't even have to ask a question. I think they already knew what my destiny was before I even believed in myself, you know.
Really?
Yeah, I was just a, you know, haututu kid. A white one too, you know, which made it even more sort of that, you know.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's fair, you know, I wasn't, you know, so I was you know, I wasn't as brown as the other cousins, you know, and plus I lived in Auckland and all this kind of, you know, difference that I had from the cousins at home. And so, yeah, that kind of made me stand out a little bit more. Of course, I was always getting up to mischief too. I was bringing that city life back to the haukainga and getting a lot of good whip ass too, you know, and for all my little haututu deeds. But at the same time, you know, like no one else was asking those questions.
Yeah.
You know, there was another one in our area, Mark Clarisage, Uncle John's our boy. Yeah, he was also of that kind of same, I would consider that same caliber, kind of always asking, always wanting to know about things like that, you know.
Had you already started your journey at that stage when you were having those conversations? Or was this even before you went into
even before way.
So in your early teens and stuff like
that? Even younger, like at the age of my youngest now, you know, 10, 11, around there. And, you know, the big change came for me was hooking up with Henare Mahanga.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, great orator.
South Auckland institution, yeah.
Oh, man, I mean, you know, he was, you know, what wasn't he good at in terms of, you know, ngā mahi Māori, you know, whai kōrero, waiata, haka, taiaha, weapons, carving. The guy was unreal, you know, and not just myself, there were a few of us in Otara at that time that were lucky enough to be taken under his wing. And when I say taken under his wing, he really took us under his wing. He had no problem giving us the, you know, he didn't fuck around when it came to things like that. And, you know, those old school teachers, you know, and it's just kind of, you know, what we needed at that time, you know, because we were just, you know, really, we were either going to go this way or that way. And he was determined that you're not going to go that way. Yeah.
Can I be real specific about the that way bit?
Oh, you know, get up to mischief with the gangs and stuff like that, you know, and just kind of, in his words, waste your life. you know, and you know, there's things you got to do, there's possibilities out there for you to do, and all of that existed within a Māori world. And you know, I mean, he's talking to 13-year-old kids, you know, that I hardly ever went to bloody school, you know. Yeah, I was just a misfit, you know, and there was a whole bunch of us that he managed to wrangle in, and you know, he had no problem coming to your parents' house and knocking on the door and, you know, where's that fella, he's not at school, and he'd be that guy. Plus, on top of all his other responsibilities to the community, to the school, to everything else, to kapa. Him and Peter Sharples were tight back in those days with their opes, you know, their kapa. And so he was doing all of that as well, you know. I mean, I don't even know how he found, I don't think he even slept, you know, that man, you know. So, but he had a huge influence on my life and others as well, yeah.
Do you reckon he also saw something? Because there's lots of kōrero I'm getting here about people who, but for their influence, particularly Henare Mahanga that you're mentioning there, but for their influence, you might have ended up going, as you say, that way. Yeah.
I was already running little errands.
What does that mean?
Push bike. Oh, you know, drop this over here, pick that up over
Really?
here. But, you know, I mean...
that's the way it was?
Yeah, that's just, you know, you're part of your environment in the city. And, you know, to me, they might have had patches on there, but also they were my uncles, and they were my aunties, and they were my cousins. Yeah. So they were just part of our whānau. And so, you know, if the old uncle said, you know, take this to so, because everybody knew everybody. So, you know, if the old uncle said, hey man, get on your bike, my little shitty bike, my rally, whatever it was, and I bike around there with my school bag on, you know.
The rally 20s.
Yeah, the rally 20s, that's the cusp. Yeah, you know, hard out, you know, go as fast as I can, you know, and you do the deeds, get the treats. Yeah. But, you know, whether he saw something in us or not, I don't think it really mattered to him.
He was that committed.
He's that committed, you know. I mean, yeah.
We're talking, what, Hillary College, are we?
Yeah, so this is in the mid-70s. Yeah.
Hone and Hilda and them were around.
Yeah, Hone was there. Hilda was our te reo teacher, one of our te reo teachers.
Wow.
There were a few really cool peeps there in Otara at that time. You know, Dan Davis, he was...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the old fella. Yeah, I mean, he was constantly chasing us around the neighbourhood, you know, wanting us to patch up with his bloody, what is it, sort of like a military training, you know, and he was awesome too, that kaumātua, you know, he was always looking out for us, come down to the police station and get us all out, you know. I don't know how he did it, but, you know, he'd,
So how do you end up at the Institute?
Basically
or Te Pui, as it's called nowadays.
Basically because of Henare.
Did he push you that way?
Yeah.
Why though? What did he see? What were you doing?
Well,
he must have seen something you'd done.
To be honest, I think Hillary College was getting ready to set me free. They'd had enough. And then,
I like the way you put that.
Yeah, and then they just had enough. And then, so Henare comes along the scene, and he convinces the trustees and the principal and all the people that were involved, including my parents, that this boy, he's got something, and if we cut him loose now, you know, it's not going to do him or the community any favours. So. My suggestion is that he applies for Te Puia. This is 1978, and so they just let me go to school. I didn't go to any other classes. I just snuck into his room, went out the back, and I was carving. So there was another fella there, Hone Hau, another one, Kelly Murray. You know, so pretty much the three of us were his main go-tos, you know, and he'd drag us around everywhere, all these different kaupapa that he had on, you know, doing moko and all that sort of stuff on the groups and whatever.
Had you shown him something that said to him?
Yeah.
You know, do you remember what it was?
Well, I can remember myself actually, because like he tried me with te reo, koretake. try me with the kapa, oh, kore take, you know. Try me with the you know, whai kōrero and all this, kore take, you know. And then the last one was the carving, you know. And, and yeah, I can actually remember like the first time I picked up a chisel and hit it into the timber. It was all of a sudden, it was kind of like, wow, it's like the chisel's like my pen, you know, and I can write and I can understand what I'm writing, you know, and I just was obsessed with it. So even after school, instead of going out on little errands, I would, you know, we stayed in the state house and we had those little old concrete garden things. I modified that whole thing and I'd bring back my carvings and, you know, smack it around in the garage and steal all the chisels from the school and, you know, go back and finish off my carvings. And so I was just obsessed with it. And I couldn't not think about it 24/7. In fact, I'm still like that. You know, it's a blessing and a curse. And he saw that in me, I guess, you know, and he was pretty sure that I was going to go down there.
Wow.
And so the first year I applied, I was too young, hone hau got in. And then the second year I applied, I was successful under Tuti Tukaukau.
Oh, yes.
Hone Taiapa had just passed away, maybe a year and a half before that. And then the following year, Kelly Murray followed me down as well. So the three of us from Otara that Henare put up all made it in.
Wow.
So, you know, and I say all made it in because back in those days, it was very, very prestigious to get into that school. Now, I didn't know that, and I don't think any of us knew that. We were only 16, just tamariki, you know, rangatahi. And so the whole kind of prestigious thing wasn't really on our minds. It was women and tourists and things like that, you know, and drinking in the pubs and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, none of the serious stuff came till later.
Yeah, because you're following in the footsteps of all legends. I mean, you mentioned Hone Taiapa, obviously, but, you know, people like, well, you know, up north to Arahi.
Aye. Yeah.
James Rickard.
Yeah, James Rickard, yeah. First intake.
Yeah. That first intake of, and then Lionel.
Yeah, Lionel was, I think, a third or fourth, maybe. Yeah. I mean, another genius, you know. Yeah.
But you didn't know any of those fellas?
No, I didn't know, and you know, boy, but I got to know them for a while. Yeah. So you know, it was old school back then. You know, like I mean, if you ask too many questions, you get a whack. If you didn't ask enough, you get a whack. So you know, you had to navigate your way.
Fine line,
Yeah, you had
to. It's like carving, fine line.
It's just like that chiseled edge, you know. If you walk it, there's a good chance you're going to get cut. You know? So, but that's all part of it, you know. Like I think when I think about all the boys that were in our time, they are all, you know, great artists in their own rights. You know,
And I do want to talk about those people in your time, but you mentioned something interesting, which when I talked to James Rickard, he said the same thing. Can't get it out off your mind.
No.
So what do you see before you even pick up a chisel? Have you already got something in your head, and you go, this is what I'm going to do, or is it like a visage or an ahua that you start with and then it just starts to formulate itself further as you go through? Is that what was happening before you even got to Te Puia?
Nah. That stuff comes later as you mature into the mahi. In the beginning, it's all about the love, you know, the connection that you have with the art form. And you just, you know, because, you know, I think one of the reasons why they, you know, gave you a clip around the ears if you ask too many questions is because the answers were just too much for you to handle. And the idea is like, you need to learn how to use the chisel and the mallet and the rako before you learn the kōrero, you know, and I think they were right. So, you know, I think in the beginning it's just pure passion that you have for the mahi and the fact that you're, you know, learning all these different skills that come with that process. And then as you get older, now I can look at some, if you give me a tupuna name, a little bit of their background, I'm already starting to summon up like images in my head.
So for us who don't have any talent, how does that happen?
Oh, probably the same way you do when you get up on the marae and you do your whai kōrero. You know, you just know which way to take the kōrero.
Right.
You see it, you feel it, and then you bring it out, you know. And it's the same thing with carving or moko or any Māori art, you know. If you can see it, you can control the environment to which it becomes a reality. You know what I mean? And I think as an expert at that, you're able to manipulate the environment, so to speak, you know? So if it's even, and it doesn't matter what media you're working in, even in film I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I could see the bigger picture, so therefore I knew which way to navigate myself in order to do the best that I could at what I was asked to do. And so carving is like that, you know, it's like I can look at this table here and I can tell you 100 ways that we can decorate this thing to make it look way better than what it looks like now.
Do you mind if we talk about film a little bit and then I'll get back to cover? Because you talk about it like it's easy because it's transferable skill.
Yeah.
You know, you take a field, you take a bit of expertise that you've got here and you go, oh, I'm just going to transfer a little bit and apply it here, like the work that you did in film. Is that how you did it? Is that what your approach was? Yeah,
pretty much. But you know, like when you've got fellas like Clive and James, Jim Fergus, Lionel Grant, and numerous others, they're all these like tohungas, you know, whom I consider to be tohunga. And we get to bathe in their mātauranga, you know, like literally bathe, you know, like, you know, backstroke kind of bathing, you know, like it's just everywhere. And so you know, just like Otara, you become the environment that you grow up in. So you get taken out of that and you get put into this other puna, and you get to bathe amongst these greats, these tohunga, these rangatira, who themselves, I would say, wouldn't look at themselves in that light. But for young rangatahi, that's how we looked at these guys. And so they impart their secrets to you, just like kaumātua, you know, just sitting down with those old fellas and talking and stuff. They impart things that nobody else knows.
Yeah.
And after a while, you put your own swing on those things, and you start to navigate your own way through those processes. You know, how to eliminate the shape, you know, the moulding techniques, the adzing techniques, using modern tools, angle grinders and all sorts of things like that. And then, you know, functioning with, you know, design, how to mould it enough so that you fit the right amount of design onto this so it doesn't look cluttered or all those sort of things. You know, that just comes with time and persistence and dedication to the art itself and to the culture, you know. And on top of all of that, there's the kōrero. So that enriches it. That actually, me whakahoki e ki te Māori o te tupuna. Yeah.
Because when you talked about being able to see it, and then you talked about manipulation, had that fully formed itself by the time you finished at Te Puia?
Nah. Nah. I actually think I'm just starting to come into my prime now.
There we go. Because how old are you now, sorry?
60.
60 now?
Yeah, you know, I can actually see it like way down, you know, way down the track, you know.
So, but when you finished with Te Puia, what did you like?
Well, I was lucky, man, because like I managed to hitch another waka with Pakariki Harrison.
Oh, yeah.
You know, another rangatira, you know, also from the north. Oh, is he? No. You know, his wife, Hinerangi, she's from Mutakraka, so...
Oh, right.
Yeah, koina te honanga. Yeah, so, yeah, he is kind of from Hokianga. But, well, those Gati pros would be like, what?
Yeah. There we go, here we go.
Here we go.
We're tuning out.
Stick to the kaupapa. Yeah. But, no, he was really great, you know, in terms of, you know, putting all that kōrero into the piece, you know, and he knew that we could execute that into the rākau as, you know, young kind of Jedis, I suppose. You know, there were 5 of us from Te Puia that worked on that project with him. Te Rangi Kaihoro.
Yes.
Laurie, Eric Korewha. No,
Eric,
no te taitokera. Tommy Ropata. No te kāinga. and Henare Mato from Waipiro
yes,
Bay,
yes,
yeah, and then myself. So yeah, we were his, his eyes and ears on the project and helping develop younger artists coming through at that time. So.
Which project are we talking about?
Oh, Waipapa.
Waipapa Mara,
Auckland,
yes.
Auckland,
Auckland University Mara.
Yeah, university.
Wow.
And that in itself too, bro, was like, I didn't realise it at the time, but like the work that had gone in behind the scenes, the backstory to that place. They fought for 10 years to have their place against the system, Protests, similar things that are happening now, happened then. And it wasn't, if it wasn't for a few key people at that time that just kept pushing and pushing the system, they wouldn't have that place today. But it's a wānanga institution on its, on its own motuhake nowadays. But then you look back and you think, shit, I was a part of that,
Yeah.
without even kind of realising the magnitude of how it started to where we got it, and then to what it is now. So
Yeah, because I was going to ask you what it's like when you drive past it or see it. Because I remember I asked Here Moko me, because he brought the Matatua whare back. And I said to him, when you see it and drive past it, because he lives in Whakatane, do you give yourself a bit of a tip of the hat and go, well done, Hirini? And he goes, no, I don't do any of that. But so what do you feel like when you go past that marae and that whare?
Yeah, there's always a sense of pride, like to know that you had a small piece to play in that puzzle, because life is a big jigsaw puzzle, and every now and again you get to lay a piece, and I think that becomes your legacy should you apply that philosophy again and again and again. I think that's our mahi, I think that's why we're still here, mate, we've still got pieces to put into the puzzle. And hopefully by the time we are ready to go, that there are, enough pieces in there to light the way.
Yeah. You talked about some people, say Eric Korewha and Hone and them, that were there at your time. And I think ones like Fane and them came just a little bit after you.
Yeah.
Man, these fellas are all legends.
Yeah, they are.
Of the Māori art world, when we see these fellas, we kind of like almost feel like bowing down. Now I know you probably just feel like, well, you're one of the crew and they're just the crew, but man, that was a pretty awesome time.
Yeah, it was.
When you look back at it now.
Yeah, when I look back, yeah.
Why was that group, why was it so special? What's the reason, do you think? Was it tutelage or just the talent of the people involved, or a mix of both?
After Hone passed, I think that responsibility and that weight of his mana and maintaining that really fell on after Tuti left, unfortunately. It really fell on all the old boys, and we were just, I think we were just in the right place at the right time, where the Institute was holding on to a lot of graduates. And so, if you wanted to learn how to maintain your chisels, there was one for that. Designing, there was one for that. Everybody had their own skill set. We had Moriora Kingi and Kepa Marsh and, those fellas, Des Mohi, just brilliant carvers, Albert Tupo, Joey Papara, Hone Taiapa's grandson, who used to do these amazing, just intricate carvings, like what like miniatures of everything, like 1,000 pakatis on a tokotoko, something crazy like that,
Wow.
And you got to see it, you got to be a part of it, and I think, if you didn't come out of that as a changed person or a changing person, artist, you weren't meant to do it. And, to be fair, there were some of our boys that went through that time and had their time, ended up becoming something else other than a carver. And that's okay too, because I think also, this path that we choose is for the chosen. And I'm not trying to be whakahihi when I say that, but it is what it is. And Yeah. For me, I think, I'm just this little Māori boy from Otara, and, I never had any other skills, so I had to make it work. I just had to make it work.
But that's not true, though. I mean, we were just about to talk about film.
Yeah.
So that's not true.
Well, film is really just an extension of telling stories, right? Like through rākau. Yeah. And, I think every Māori is a natural born actor, and we see it on the marae, we see it on the kapa, we see it at home, everyone's father and mother are comedians, in one way or another. And that automatically rolls off onto the kids. And so when acting came along, it was more, I wasn't seeking it, but
you got a penchant for the kind of...
Yeah. I just fell into it, but then once I got into it, it's the same thing with carving. Once I got into it, I realised, oh shit, man, there's a bigger picture here, and I can take what I've already learned out of carving and I can apply it to...
so how so?
Well, film is about a kaupapa, and that kaupapa is like the thing. So you have all these different personalities working on this project. Some of them might agree with the story, some of them might be into it, some of them are from different ethnic backgrounds, but all of them are there for the kaupapa. So it doesn't really matter what their opinions are. They're there for a specific job and they do it for the kaupapa. And I think for film, that was the biggest lesson that I learned. It's about the kaupapa. Ko te mea nui, ko te kaupapa. E hara mo te tangata, E hara mo te tangata. We get too mixed up these days in personalities. We're wanting to sort of put that person out there or force that person into that role. It's about the kaupapa, mate. Hei aha mo te personalities. It's just me whakahokia ki te kaupapa, and let's work on that. And I think that was the biggest lesson that I learned from the film business. I got to experience, because I started out as an extra, then I became an actor, and then you spend a lot of time. We got a whakatauki in the film industry. Hurry up and wait.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you're waiting there, you're often with the makeup women and men and the wardrobe personnel. So you get a lot of time to spend with these fellas, so they become not work colleagues but friends. And because, they find out a little bit about you, oh, you're a bit of an artist, or, come over here and, I'll show you how to do a scar. And so you start learning other techniques and stuff like that, and you apply those same principles from whakaaro into that art form, and then suddenly you're doing Broken Bones, and you're working on Hercules and Xena and stuff like that. Then you do a period piece. We worked on a television show called Greenstone. Yeah. So I got to design all the pa on there. I've always wanted to do that, man. Design my own pa. And we got to design 3 of them on that show, and I won an award, a nominees for, best thing. So, all these things that would have never ever happened had we not just stumbled through and, what's this place, and how can we make it work, And that's all it was, It wasn't like out of destiny or anything like that. I did have a fantasy of becoming the next Temuera Morrison or Cliff Curtis.
I was going to ask.
But the phone just stopped calling, bro. Better go back to...
Pick up the chisel again.
Yeah, pick up the chisel again, bro. That'll never let you down, So, that was us.
You were doing it for a long time. It felt like about 10, 15 years. You were pretty much...
No, we got to, meet a lot of famous people that, I thought, man, this little Māori boy from Otara would never ever have the opportunity to meet those types of people, but there you go. Māori, Pākehā, all sorts of different people involved.
Give me an example of the most famous one you met.
Oh, yeah, Harvey Keitel, Holly Hunter, in the piano. Sam I'm still good mates with, Temuera, that was, I think, the first time I met Tim. Cliff, Cliff was just Cliff then, now he's Cliff. He's, man, what hasn't he done? So, and these people, like every now and again I still hook up with Sam, after all those years, and they're real people, real great people.
Has he ever given indication of maybe getting a pūhoro one day?
No, but I mokoed him though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I put a little piece on his forearm.
Oh, wow. So
he was working on a TV series about Aupai, is it? The navigator? Tupaia.
Tupaia, yeah.
Yeah, so he was working on this series called about Tupaia and Captain Cook. And so he just came around to ask me a couple of questions, right? And then, obviously I was getting ready. He wanted to see some tattooing. So I said, yeah, got my daughter, Wairingi. So I was going to do a piece on her. And just before we were about to start, he goes, do it on me. And the director was like, what? And the whole crew was like, what? And I was like, what? And so we did. Yeah, and it was really, it was emotional for him, to receive something like that. And it was a honour for our family to be able to provide that for him. Yeah, wow. Yeah, a small piece, but it doesn't matter how big the piece is. It's the intentions of what you're doing. That's a real famous saying my grandmother used to say.
For most of us, again, not talented in this way, or maybe in any way, actually. Now that I think about it, but we see whakaaro, tāmoko as part of the same thing.
Mm.
Or maybe one help leads the other, or they're both kind of so mutually inclusive of each other that it's just a natural extension to do both at the same time. Is it that way? Or was there a point in time at which
they're like cousins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They share the same blood ties, but they are very different.
So did you go into Te Puia thinking you were just going to do whakaaro? And then tāmoko came up, or that was always the intention to do?
No, I knew for sure that I didn't want a tattoo at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I just I thought I was going to be a carver for the rest of my life. My horizons back then were very minimal, and I didn't quite have the scope that I have now. I just thought, I don't want to tattoo. I want to wear it. I shared a little kōrero with you earlier about Ricky Manuel being the first guy that I saw with a pūhoro. Yeah, I knew I wanted to wear it. And then the early 90s come in, and Te Rangi Kaihoro was trying to convince me to do a tattoo apprenticeship with him in town with one of the local tattooists. And I was like, nah, I'm not even worried about it. I'm a carver, And then, so he goes off and does his thing. And then, part of his learning was to tattoo himself. So he came back one day, and he had a little piece of his pūhoro on his thigh that he tattooed himself. He'd only been, at the shop for a few months.
Wow.
And I looked at it and I thought, that's good enough, man, do me. And so that journey began. And so back then we were doing it in little bits and pieces, and when, times we could get together and stuff like that. But I ended up becoming his apprentice. And to me, Laurie's always been like the godfather of the modern Renaissance. And why I say that in particular to him is that, I was with him when he was just traveling, everywhere, all over the motu, here in, the North Island and the South Island. We were traveling all over the place, spreading the word, trying to rally more troops and stuff like that. And there were other tribal areas too that, things had started happening around about the same time.
He had Derek and them doing
That's
stuff.
Right, Mark and others over in Tūhoi. Tame had a whole crew over there, so, and we got, Rangi Skipper as well, so Rangi Tū Netana, he was another one, there was a few, and we had opportunities to all come together and wānanga together and share our whakaaro about, were we the right ones to sort of uphold all that sort of tapu stuff. And well, somebody had to do it, so we just thought, fuck it, let's do it. Pretty much, I'd like to say that it was, full of rainbows and candy floss.
Yeah, yep. And Kupe said this is...
And there was great karakia that came down and blessed us all. No, there was none of that. It was really, let's let's do it. You know?
But see, this is the thing. I feel that's a really brave thing to do. Well, you know, this is just me because it feels like something, as you say, it's a tapu process, and you know what that process means. So it is a tapu process. I just admire the pluck. Do you know what I mean? So how do you know you're good at it? Or gonna be good at it?
Oh, ask my whanaungas. That first wave was tragic. Yeah.
No,
you know,
no.
But, you know, it was...
You're just saying, you're not being serious when you say
Well, I mean, I look back at it and I think, ooh, you know, but to them, you know, like that moment, it marks that moment in time for them. And I've said to some of my own whanaunga, you know, like, hey, listen, man, let me touch that up a bit, you know, let me revitalise it. And they're like, nah, leave it. I love it the way that it is. And that's, to me, another reminder of just how powerful, not just receiving moko is, but the time, you know, shared through that process, that it means that much to them that they don't want to change it.
Yeah, I just remember seeing some of my own mates, like Liberty.
Yeah.
You know,
oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Beautiful.
Bro, he was part of that first wave of pūhoro. You know, I think
I was going to say, I thought he'd be early.
Yeah, bro.
Because it was 90s. He got his done, mid to late.
Yeah. Because you know I'd say he was like the second wave of my pūhoro journey. I've tried the kanohi and I did all of that as well. But I think I've always been drawn to the process of pūhoro more than the other art forms of moko. Because I just love the process of taking somebody through, guiding somebody through that operation, because that's what it is. Yeah. You know, a kanohi will take, you know, half a day, a male, you know, a wahine even less, you know, a couple of hours in some cases. But a pūhoro, that is like a 5 to 6 day journey. And when I first started, it was like 10, 12 day journey. So we've gotten it right down to like 4 days now. So there's been a lot of like shaving of time and honing the process to get it down that way, get the stretches working right, getting the whole space set up, you know, like this, you know, you got to create the space for magic things to happen. And to me, it is real magic.
And I hope this person doesn't mind me saying this. I'm pretty sure he'll be okay with it because we're related, number one. Number two, because he's talked about it publicly before at a tangi, actually. I'm talking about Lindsay.
Oh, yeah.
Because he went through a process with you, and
then,
yeah,
that's right.
Uncle Pat died.
Yeah.
And so you got the word.
Yeah.
He got the word. He was on the table.
He was on the table. Yeah.
And you got the word, and you said, right, we're going to include this.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. And he talked about this. So that's why I say I don't think he'll mind. Me raising it. The reason why I bring it up, though, is because like it takes a lot of expertise to have a plan, as you say, and set it up, get the process right, get everything sorted, and then go, this has happened, we're going to include this and as a part of the process. It takes expertise to be able to do that on the fly, not the right way of putting it, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and I think those are, you know, those quintessential moments in time that need to be recorded are so important, that who you're doing it on is able to carry their kōrero on. You know, it could have been somebody else on the table that day that wasn't quite connected to patu in the same way, you know, and I may have looked at that and thought, I'll keep that for me, you know, I'll do it for the old fella, you know, and keep that one for me. But because it was Lindsay, I knew that he would uplift that that pauritanga in some way, and of course, as soon as he was finished, me hoki ki te kāinga, and a tangohia tōna.
And he showed us.
And gave the kōrero.
And here's the other thing, it was like I thought, you know, he'd still be mama and stuff. He was set. It was toe.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean about setting the space.
Yeah.
You know, he wāhi tapu tērā. So you got to be able to, if you you have all the ingredients in the right space at the right time, there is no swelling, there is no bleeding, and the healing is rapid. Like, I mean, I'm talking like it's already starting to peel by the last day. There's no trauma. The guy is increased energy instead of decreased energy. So, and our women too. So we're starting to do our wahine as well.
Beautiful too.
And man, they're kicking ass, bro. They're kicking ass. As always, you know. Yeah, like, I mean, for us men, you know, we're like, yeah, the puhoro boy, that's the one, man. Woo, man, take us there, cousin, take us there. And then the women come in, you done yet? You know, it's just like, oh, hurry up, you know, like, shit. You know? What do you mean you want to take a break? Carry on. You know, that's our wahine, you know? Yeah. So they have a unique relationship with pain too. Yeah, totally. You know? I mean, when it comes to carrying pain and being able to navigate that realm of mamai, they're experts. So on the table, you know, they just click into that and away they go.
I wanted to ask you, someone gave me a little bit of advice and to potentially ask you about this, so I hope you don't mind me raising it. They talked about the kahua niwareka.
Oh, yeah.
What is that?
So I also had the privilege of doing te kura, and you know, again, so like, yes, I'm running the wānanga, but the people that come in are equally contributors to the, you know, to how far or how deep this wānanga will eventuate. And so having people like te kura enables me to be able to explore different theories that I have about the process. So Te Kahua Niwareka was a name that we developed for our wahine in terms of, so the male version of the puhoro, te whāriki tapu o Uetonga. So it's the mats, the sacred mats that only, you know, certain members of the whānau, ariki, wahine tāne sit on. So hence that name, te whāriki tapu o Uetonga. As we move up the body, we take out that centre part, the arms. Kuruwaka is another word for forearms, and that central poho area around the back. That became Te Kahua Niwareka to acknowledge the power of our women, because as I took Te Kura through his process of a full body suit, he was able to share with me that receiving that part of his body was actually harder than receiving his puhoro. And then so we started talking about all the different elements within that area that are attributed to our women, you know, where we feed our babies, the whare tangata, all these real powerful things that kind of, you know, are only created by women. And so we dedicated that area of the body to our women in homage to them. And then, of course, the last domain is ka puti ki te ao marama ko mataora. So that's the last. So koina te whakapapa o ngā moko. Ki raro, horekau ki raro, ki runga. You know, the whakapapa starts below. So below the knees, it's ruau moko. So, you know, we're starting to really map the body out now in terms of a map that we can, you know, share with our people.
What do you make of the whole revitalisation now?
Yeah.
Of what we're seeing today, where it's celebrated now, Gordon.
Yeah, it is. It's becoming accepted. But I also kind of, you know, and I've said this before, it's also in a state of chaos, you know, and chaos means to me like there's so many different influences that enable themselves to creep in and change directions. You know, we're taking a little bit from that fellow over there, a little bit from that fellow over there, te mea, and all these things, throwing it all in, and then we've got a mismatch of a whole lot of, to me it looks like a spelling mistake. And I'm not being whakahihi when I say that, it's the fucking truth. And so where I think the kaupapa of moko is at the moment, it's necessary that it goes through this because we have to, it's like the separation of rangi and papa, it's just a mismatch of everything. You know, we're all fighting for our different places and trying to find on our positions on the waka. Once that starts to calm down and everybody is finding their space within that realm, then I think you're going to really start seeing a different kind of moko emerged from that. If you look at te reo, for example, I know back in the 70s, if you could say kei te pai, that was accepted everywhere, right? But now, te mito o te reo is taumata. You know, if you're from a certain area, especially up in the north, by jingers, you better get that mita right. You know, you got to have that mita right. And I would like to think that where moko will go in the future is defining te mito o te moko. And so we'll have tūturu ngāpuhi styles from the different areas of te wharetapu o ngāpuhi, you know. We look at northern style of moko now and we just class it as, oh, well, it's got a couple of puhoros and some unahi. It's from the north. Well, the north is a big whare, you know, and you can't tell me that there weren't different styles from one maunga to the next. And so we're very fortunate in Hokianga that we got kohuru, and so that's where I'm sapping my inspo from in terms of extracting what I can from what he's left behind, what still exists out there in museums and books, photographs, to kind of map out a South Hokianga style of moko.
Is this what you talk about when you said you're 60 now and you're just getting started? Is this the mission now?
Yeah, I believe
help
it is.
Try and redefine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Your tamariki are all involved.
Yeah. Plus, you know, I mean,
I know you got the 11-year-old, but your older tamariki.
He's on. He's on to Manako.
But all your older tamariki, you know, like I know, for example, Wade Ealing, he does a lot of mahi and your boys as well. So they're all on the waka.
Yeah, they're all on the waka, big time.
So what's that like? Because the phrase that Pākehā use, you know, apples don't fall far from trees.
Yeah.
I mean, did they have a choice, or how did that happen?
You know, no, I like to think, I like to think that I gave them a choice. Maybe that's just being me, you know, being optimistic.
Was there subtle influencing going on, Gordon?
I dragged them everywhere I could, you know, and my firstborn, Te Rangiho, I used to just have them on a backpack up at Waitangi, and you know, any kaupapa that was going down, you know, we were off at a phone call. We were heading it all over the place, carving, politics, moko, everything, you know. And then Waitangi was born. Oh, well, now I need two prams, you know, and a baby, and then you know, Maka was born, and then now I need a bigger car now, you know. So you know, track all my kids around. So. Yeah, the first one out of my kids, though, to take up the wero was Waitangi, you know, the kōtiro. Now, I just assumed that it would be the boys, and but I thought, well, you know, if it's the wahine, so be it. So never mind about any tapu stuff. Man, whatever you want, bub, it's yours, you know. And we were really, really lucky in our family too, our immediate family, that I had taken on a young fella by the name of Hirini Kātini, o Ngāti Pikia, ki te kāinga, and they got links up home. And I got home when I think 15, 16, somewhere around there, really young. He walked down the driveway, and so he grew up with my kids. And normally an apprenticeship is about maybe 2 to 3 years. Well, he stayed for about 16, so I consider him my own son, you know. I consider him a whāngai of our family. And the other kids look at him as their tuakana. And so when I wasn't there, Heeds was my right-hand man, and he's done an amazing job keeping the family together. So now Heeds is at the helm with his own studio and his own crew. Waitangi has her studio with her own crew. My second youngest son, Maka Te Pō, he's down at Te Puia doing the stone and bone. Te Rangiho's now back on the waka. He's pumping away there at his private studio at his whare, along with his wahine akanihi. So even our partners are getting in on it as well. Lani, you know. Yeah. So if you could like imagine the perfect scenario, I mean, that's it for me, you know. Tūmanaku, our youngest, our pōtiki, he's so artistically in tune with so many different things. I mean, I was just doing taiaha with him the other day, you know, and we were smacking it out on the backyard there, you know, and he's only 11, and so great things will come with him. He made his first stand at the kapas, You know, he was our whai kōrero man and did a great job. Te mito te kāinga.
Te kāinga.
So, you know, thanks to Maihi Baba, you know, so all these great people around to help, you know, uplift who he needs to be. I think that's the other thing with the kids too. You know, we had so many great people come to the whare from all the different waka around the motu at one stage or another. So yeah, you become your environment, you know. And did they have a choice? Nah, not really. Not really.
Well, the reason why I raise it is because people talk about legacy stuff, right? Now, I don't know if you think about that. Maybe you don't. But it seems like that's a fitting kind of legacy for your mahi.
Yeah, I do actually. Like the older you get, I think legacy becomes more a part of, you think about all the mahi that's thrown down, you know, you think, man, what if I die and nobody else carries it on and stuff? You know, what the hell was it all for? Yeah, so, you know, now that the kids are fully immersed into it and matatau i te reo, you know, they went through the kohanga system in Kura, out in Ngātap there, with the Sterlings, who we're still very close with, that whānau. All those sort of things, man, you know, they say like it takes a community to raise a kid. Well, my kids have been raised by the motu, you know, that's the way I see it. And so, yeah, you know, as far as legacy, fly my babies, fly, you know, absolutely.
E mihi ana kara, tēnā koe. Tēnā koe i a taua kōrero. And you know the really nice thing you've done is not once have you raised with me, so when are you getting on the table? And I appreciate that. And we'll leave it there. Yeah. I wasn't looking for a response.
I got something for you, actually.
No, here we go.
I got something for you. So, you know, man, I think the first time I met you was at the opening of the Māori television, way back then, you know. And I've just been like completely obsessed with, you know, watching you and the way that you've, you know, guided our people through all the different kaupapa that you're involved in, Māori television, back at the kāinga, so on, you know. And I just think, you know, like people like you know, you just, you're also a big inspiration to a lot of us out there, bro. So when I knew I was coming up to do this, I thought, bro, I just want to make you something, you know. And so here we go. So this is a design Kiri Kiore, and it's a design that Kohuru himself used. Obviously it's a tuki, it's te tauihu onewa. It's very special to the people in Ngāti Kuia down there that I'm associated with. But Ben Te Wake was a good mate of mine, not just an uncle, but he was a good mate of mine. And he named a waka that was made for Mere Taylor and her tohoinga waka back in the days. But he named it Kaituki. And so I wanted to give this to you, bro, because you're like that tuki, you know. You've cut some pretty mean paths yourself, my bro. All right, so, ane, this is from our family to your whānau, brother. Yeah. Surprise! Now, when are you making that appointment for your people? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm lost for words, which is the first, as the crew knows. Thank you for all that you do.
Yeah. Thank you too.
And to get people just to share their story and to inspire is really important, I think. Because these kōrero will stay with us for a long time. So in this next phase of your mahi at 60 years old, I hope the next 60 years are just as fruitful.
Yeah.
E mihi ana i ka la tēnā.
Ai, mihi ana ki a koe.
Nā koe.